By far one of the biggest videos on my channel, the hottest in the last year or so, has been this animation that I did for a Ben & Jerry's commercial. It actually is a legit Ben & Jerry's commercial that was purchased by them in 2010.
Crusading for a chunk-filled Canada. Gotta try the chocolate macadamia. Chocolate and vanilla, it's so fantastic. For the next flavor, score a caramel hat trick. Caramel my fudge swirls, oh so fun. Everybody shouts cause your team just won. Milk and cookies with the chocolate chip. One taste of this and you'll do a backflip. If waffle cone pieces are your favorite thing, we're your best bet cause we are waffling. Ben & Jerry's here for all of ya. Crusading for a chunk-filled Canada.
But Jamie, you ask, how did you get a Ben & Jerry's commercial? I found this startup website in 2010 called Pop Tent. And what it was kind of like a crowdfund sort of system based around advertising. So a company would come to Pop Tent, pay them a bunch of money to then divvy up the best ad. And they would technically buy the ad to use for themselves. Ben & Jerry's being one of these companies. So what happened in February 2010, I actually found some screenshots here from archive.org because 2010 for me doesn't feel like a long time ago, but I guess it's 14 years ago now. My wife and I were living at her grandparents' house, renting it off them, a big farmhouse. And I basically was kind of in between work and I was trying to make a first really good go at my company, my business, and I had no idea what I was doing. This was kind of like my Hail Mary kind of thing with Pop Tent. I saw it as an opportunity. We actually were pretty successful overall. Ben & Jerry's was the only one we actually sold, but we did place in some like honorable mentions and stuff and got a little bit of money that way. Ben & Jerry's paid us $5,000. This is 2010. You know, it was a significant amount of money at the time. That year, I believe I only made about 10 grand. So the Ben & Jerry's was half my income that year. It's crazy to think. I was quite shocked actually when we won. But what really made it stand out, I believe, was we had a really catchy jingle. And that was actually written by my wife, Claire, and a good friend of mine, Spence, who sung the actual jingle. I think it really set it apart and it's kind of memorable. And I think the quote was from Ben & Jerry was something along the lines of they really liked the emphasis of the chunk-filled Canada because it was about Ben & Jerry's coming to Canada, which isn't really like a thing. Obviously it is now, but that was 14 years ago. Wow, that's crazy. Anyway, it ended up playing in theaters, like the pre-show in theaters all across Cineplex, I believe, in Canada. I think it was just Cineplex. Yeah, it was wild. It was a wild ride. They gave us $5 grand. I divvied it up with, I split it all up, obviously, to the people involved. Actually, it was sound mixed. The jingle by a friend named Dom. Shout out to Dom. Haven't seen him in a long time, but yeah, it was wild. It was a good run. So yeah, that's the story of the Ben & Jerry's commercial blowing up on the channel. I wish I had the original files. I legit lost everything. Pop Tent kind of went under shortly after. All the media was offline, and just the organization back in the day was bad on my part. I think I have it buried on a hard drive somewhere. I do remember animating with Sony Vegas. It was, couldn't figure out how to do what I wanted to do on Premiere or any kind of Adobe thing. I don't think I even really, I didn't use After Effects, which is interesting. Yeah, I just used Sony Vegas and some still images, and it was a very crude animation. I got away with it, obviously. Super nice down here. So our short that was too hot for TV actually did get into that festival and actually played on TV. We made a censored version. It got in, got some big laughs. Didn't win, but that's not really what it's for. I just like making stuff, being creative, especially hanging out with Rick, Callie, Dan. Got to hang out with some people to make something. Get together and make something. As silly as the short was, it's kind of like, I don't know, something I find very energizing about hanging out with people, making stuff, building something, building towards something. This is kind of creepy here. I call it the shell station. Just a bunch of seashells. To add, actually, we posted the censored and the uncensored version of the 1 minute short, and the censored version actually got a big spike in views. I think it's at about 400 or 500 views, and I posted it 2 days ago. So that's impressive. It's keeping me motivated to keep this channel going and really just try to provide as much value to you guys as I can. And I really appreciate you guys checking this out. I do want to add, for the Ben & Jerry's thing, I felt like an absolute fraud. I started doing it and had the idea. I knew it was going to take some time, and I was like, oh, I'm such a fraud. I felt so fake, like a fake animator. Like I didn't know what I was doing, and I wasn't going to win, or like it wasn't even about winning, but it was like, it wasn't even worth the time. And then Ben & Jerry's bought it. So it's kind of like, I was shocked, but it's kind of one of those things you just kind of roll the dice sometimes, and sometimes it doesn't pan out, and that's fine. Imposter syndrome, it's kind of like what I'm getting at, is so rampant, and you'll always feel like a fraud. I feel like most, even successful people will say that, is that you'll always feel like there's always somebody better, and you know, just the classic imposter syndrome. It's huge, but it's also all in your head.